Good evening, everyone. It's June 24th, 2018, and this is your weekend update. So everybody, again, I'm doing a live weekend update. I know, surprise for some of you, we're probably expecting I would be here tomorrow night, but we had family and friend issues, so we went ahead and took care of that. And just first of all, I want to tell everybody tonight I'm drinking a Modus Operandi or Hopperendi from Ska Brewery. Let you take a look at that. I'm gonna go ahead and pour that now. Some of you people get in here and get ready. So I hope everybody had a great weekend. I know I certainly did. And I don't know if some of you in the live chat actually got a chance to go to Fenntuber and got to meet Forrest Fenn in the book signing yesterday. Got to watch some of that live on A Gypsy's Kiss, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But I hope some of you got. I'll see if I can get my iPad up here, up to date, so I can follow the chat. Okay. So look like we got David, my partner's in. We got Fenn Treasure Hunter. Hi, Jason. How are you? Rodney Greenway. Good to see you. So we'll get everybody going in there. So obviously it was a pretty busy week this week. There was a lot going on. So I'm going to try and get through this just as quick as I can. And then again, like I've told everybody, it'll take me about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer to get through pretty much everything that went on this week in the Fennverse, so to speak. And then once I get done with that, I'll do what I call my little opinion piece. And for those of you that don't care to hear my opinion piece at that point in time, you'll be able to shut it off if you like. But we'll go ahead and we'll start off by saying cheers to you all. Again, this is my Three Rivers glass. That's good. It's good stuff. Well, we'll start right off. Again, I like to do this alphabetically. So we'll start off with A Gypsy's Kiss. And this week on Tuesday, they did a video on their interpretation of Too Far to Walk and what that meant. That was what they did on Tuesday. Wednesday, they had our good friend Jason Dent, or Fenn Treasure Hunter, as the main panelist on there. We also had Rick McDonald. It was good to see Rick again, and we had Rambling Pam as well on the panel. And they talked to Jason a little bit about his search and how long he's been in the search. I really didn't know Jason had been in the community for that long out searching, so it was good to get to a little bit know more about Jason. I promise you, this is the first beer I've had today. And then Thursday and then also on Wednesday, talked a little bit about what everybody thought Too Far to Walk meant to them. It was kind of a follow up on their video that they did Tuesday. And then Thursday, they had the book club, which is going to be a 7-part series on the chapter, My War for Me. We all know that is about 20% of the book. It's about 30 some odd pages. So it's gonna take them a while to get through that. So we should have about 7 weeks of talking about My War for Me chapter. So we had that first one. And then Friday, they did their second part of the It's All About You, where we're talking to individual searchers out there in the community. And this week, they talked to a Cindy Guess. So I would suggest you go out and get to know Cindy a little bit more in her video, that it's all about you. And then this Saturday, like I talked about in the beginning of this, they actually went out there on the book signing and actually live videoed the book signing event. And, it was kind of comical because there was a couple times where they had to turn the camera away because some of the people didn't want them to hear what they were talking to Forrest about. So I guess I can kind of understand that, but it was kind of probably something that Toby and them didn't really expect. So kind of interesting how that went down. Cheers. Say hi to a couple more people. Looks like we got Journeyman that came in. Hi, Journeyman. How are you? Again, this is a little bit of surprise because some people thought I would do it Saturday. Again, family and friends come first versus this. So I take care of them first. Now, moving on, I'm going to move on to Adventure. Adventure put a couple of videos out this week. One was called Search Areas, where he talked about, how, some new searchers and then how the veteran searchers, look at their search areas and how it seems that some people are more stuck on their individual area. And I can tell you for certain, I have been stuck on, my certain area for a couple of years now, so I can understand that. And then he did a video also on After It's Found. And for some of you who don't know, I think he's actually going to be live with Jason Dent on his Tuesday show, but I'll talk about that more when we get to talk about Fenn Treasure Hunter. Now I'm going to move on to Bill Gorman, the old elephant in the room. he had several, again, live videos this week. Again, I like the live videos because, you know, it's good because I like when Bill goes out there in the wilderness. Sometimes he gets a little pixelated, but he's out there in the woods and kind of looking around and talking. So that's kind of cool. I enjoy that. But he also, I guess this week he put up an eBay auction for his Skippy's Buffalo Cowboys car. So that's on eBay if you want to go check that out. He put a short video of putting that up there. So again, Bill's putting some interesting stuff out there. Now, Bill, I hope you don't take offense. When we were actually on Fenn Treasure Hunter's video, I was actually joking about me being able to walk out and pick up rocks. And sure, I can pick up rocks out of my front yard that could be, I mean, how old is dirt? I mean, really, you know, and yeah, I may think you're a little bit crazy, Bill, but I don't think you're crazy because you see things in rocks. I think you're a little crazy because you get upset at people because they think you're a little crazy for looking at rocks. I figure that out, but Bill, I like you. I've got nothing wrong with you. It was a joke. You know, while you're out there searching, try and find your sense of humor once in a while. Okay, guy, just relax. Now I want to move on to Blaze of Glory, Eric Hall. And he actually put a video out this week where he talks about how we got into the chase. So it's kind of nice to get a perspective, you know, from how we got into the hunt. And the guy's got a really interesting sense of humor, and just some of the stuff he says is quite funny. You might check out his videos if you haven't. He actually put out a short one about it was about 2 minutes long, where he was on his way to a search area, and it's just kind of funny. You might watch that one. The guy's got, like I said, a really interesting sense of humor, and I enjoy watching his videos. So Eric, keep putting them out. I'm definitely picking up on what you're putting down. Next, I want to talk about DeCall Thomas, you know, my good friend from our After Hours show. Cheers to you. I know you're probably drinking a Diet Coke, but you know my beer choice. But DeCall Thomas this week put out a video on the solar connections, you know, throughout what he thinks, you know, throughout the book and throughout the poem. And he does a really interesting take of, you know, breaking down the 24 lines in the poem, you know, by hours. And that was kind of a really interesting take because if you, again, I'm a poem purist, but I still have a copy of the book and I do read the book, but my foundation is based on the poem. But I like the correlations that he does because it kind of fits in with like the chapters of surviving myself, you know, when it's dark. And he says, you know, it took guts to go in there and it was dark with no moon. So there's kind of some interesting correlations. And then I did talk to DeCall about that and I thought it was good. It was a great video. You should go watch it. Definitely. Next is Fenn Treasure Hunter, our good friend Jason Dent. Jason Dent had, again, several live videos this week, and he had a little bit of technical difficulties, but it looks like he's kind of worked through that. I can imagine what that's like with everything between OBS and everything he does. It's definitely a lot of work to do that. So I would definitely be patient, you know, with him on getting that all done, but he's doing a great job. But he was obviously on A Gypsy's Kiss this week on the Wednesday panel, like I talked about. But he also introduced his search partner, a Cody Pressword. So it's kind of interesting to get Cody's perspective on you know, working with Jason. So that was good. It was kind of interesting to get his take on it. And then like I had mentioned earlier, this Tuesday coming up, he's actually going to have Ad Fincher on as a special guest with him. So that'll be an interesting show to watch. Make sure you catch that. Jason, I think you do them at 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. If you're in the chat room, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think you do them at 7 o'clock is when you go live on those. So I'll definitely be looking forward to watching that video. Next, I want to move on to It Is What It Is Productions. And this week he put out another, you know, a 3-part video, and it was all about the treasure chest, law, and what if it's buried. So you might go watch his videos. He goes into a little bit of detail of his interpretations of law and if it's buried or if it's not buried. And now I think A Gypsy's Kiss actually had a short video on Forrest Fenn, you know, was talking to a searcher who was around Lake Huron or something. And he said he was digging there and he got caught by the park rangers and would give him a hard time. I don't know if he got arrested or not, but Forrest, I think it was misinterpreted what Forrest Fenn said, but I think Forrest Fenn was saying, you know, in those places you can't dig. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't dig somewhere else. At least that was the short take that I took of it. Maybe you guys in the chat room might have a different take on that, but got a little off topic on Is What It Is Productions, but it's good videos by him. If you get a chance, you might go check them out. Again, it's a 3-part series. Each one's around 15 minutes or so. Next, I want to move on to Man Alone. And Man Alone, again, did several videos this week, but a couple of them that really stood out to me that I liked was one he did on private versus public lands. And he goes into a good synopsis and some good, you know, legalese of what the treasure can be on private or public lands. And some of it's kind of obvious to us, but I think it's, he's put some good effort into that. And then another one he did was, did Fenn bury his treasure? And again, there's a lot of talk of that now, about whether the treasure is buried or not. So again, another good video by Man Alone. You might go check him out. And there was one other one. I didn't get all the way through it, but it was about rabbit holes. So go check out those 3 videos from Man Alone. Next is our good friend Shannon Utz of the Odious Soul. She put out a great video this week titled "Where Warm Waters Halt." And then she did a follow-up video on that, answering, a couple questions. And then, there was a little bit of debate between her and another searcher. But she did a kind of a little rebuttal video explaining, her take on that. Again, me personally, I think we put too much emphasis on trying to figure out what warm waters halt is versus where it is. But that's just my personal opinion. But a great video by Shannon nonetheless, as always, and you definitely should go check it out. Next is our friend Paul from the UK. He put out some new videos this week, but Paul, I don't know if you watch these videos, but if I can give you a little bit of an advice, each and every one of your videos is titled the same thing. And maybe that's purposeful on your point, but it does make it difficult to understand what the topic of that is. And if you go in there, if you can edit your videos, or in the future when you make a video, you might, if you want to keep that topic, but put something else in there that says, this, I'm going to be talking about Warm Waters Halt, or I'm going to be talking about Homer Brown, or whatever the subject of your video is. It might be easier for people to find that video and watch it based on the title of your video. So just a suggestion that you might do, but definitely go check out Paul's videos and see what he's got to say. Next is Rambling Pam, our good mellow yellow Rambling Pam. Cheers to you. I don't know if you drink, Rambling, but cheers to you. Again, she was one of the panelists this week, or last week, Wednesdays at Gypsy's Kiss. She was on there with Jason and Rick. But she put out her second video on her Southern Colorado boots on the ground trip. And again, some great scenery in her videos, and I definitely suggest you go check her video out. Next is our good friend Rodney Greenway. Rodney Greenway put out a couple of videos this week, and one of them he really went into a good in-depth analysis of his search and how we came to his search area and everything that led to that search area. So it was about an hour long, but he did a really good job of going in depth and answering some questions on, because it was a live chat that he did that on. So took a big old dip too. I can't stand, I did dip when I was like in 6th grade and fell off a rock wall, and I swore I'd never do it again. So props to you if you can handle that. I can't do that stuff, Rodney. But definitely some good videos from Rodney. Go check them out. Next is our friend Susan, or RF Hecky. She put out several videos this last week, but one of them that I really liked, she went into talking about Forrest Fenn's mention of J.D. Salinger in the most recent report to Santa Fe, or the Santa Fe Reporter, I think it is, article that we got here about a week ago. And I think she did a really good job, and I don't want to spoil what she had to say, but if the one video I really liked of hers this week was that one, because it was something that I also noticed about what he said about J.D. Salinger. So I won't give that away. I'll let you go over, because she does a good job of that. But definitely go over and at least check out that video, but she's got a couple other videos as well that you might want to check out. Sorry, why must I go? I had you between pages there. But yeah, lastly, I want to talk about why must I go? You're at the end of the list because you're the last Fenntuber with the W in your name. So, but why must I go put a video out this week called Halt and Take It video. And this was kind of a little bit of a rebuttal to Shannon's video, of Warm Waters Halt. And I understand where Why Must I Go is coming from. A lot of people, are not poem purists or don't really look to the grammar in the poem. Obviously, both Why Must I Go think a lot alike when it comes to grammar. And I understand where Why Must I Go is coming from. He's a little heated about it, but that's okay. That's his opinions, and he can go about that. But a lot of people believe that that's really what brought about this scrapbook that I'm going to talk about in my opinion piece here in a few minutes. But that's pretty much all of the known Fenntubers that we have out there. But now I'm going to talk about and there was quite a few new videos that came out this week, so it's going to take me a few minutes to get through this one. But the new Fenntubers this week, the first one that I'm going to talk about is Fox Gaming, and it'll be a link in the description here. But Fox Gaming had a video called or titled Simplify, and he really went into depth on what he believes that means. So go check out Fox Gaming's video. Another one is one of our well-known, commenters in a Gypsy's Kiss and a lot of these channels is Jimmy Fast. And Jimmy Fast put out several videos, and I did talk about those a little bit in the after hours. But I think Jimmy's got about 6 videos out now. But in his, his first couple ones, he talks about, not going boots on the ground until you really have, your solid where you're going to search, like your warm waters halt nailed down. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, Jimmy. And then Jimmy went into his third video. He went into about, the poem or the, going into giving us a lat longs. Now, I particularly don't subscribe to that, but, there are many people that do subscribe to that. And anything is possible, until this thing is found, we have to believe that, everything's on the table. So I suggest you go check out Jimmy's videos. He's put out about 6 of them now and pretty well done. So go check them out. Next is a new guy named Matthew Calls, and it's Kalz. Again, the description will be, or the link will be in the description below. But he did a short video on safety. So I admire him for putting something out, but it's his only video he's put out so far, and maybe we'll see some more from Matthew. Next is, there was a few videos put out by Terry Scant. Now, I can't confirm or deny whether this is the same Terry Scant that we all love, being the site that we go to look for Forrest Fenn quotes. But there was a lot of them were short videos, like 12 or 15 seconds long, but they're all centered around the Rio Chama Basin. So it's like whoever Terry Scant is has a solve in that area, and that's where they're searching. But there's some short videos with some good scenery in there, and they talk a little bit about what they're searching there. So go check those out. Next is Finders Keepers, Losers Weepers, and they did a solve video that you might go check out. Next, the last but not least is Urban Taint, T-A-I-N-T. Again, all these descriptions will be down, or links will be down below. But Urban Taint put out a few videos. One of them was about Homer Brown and a couple others. But you might go check those out as well. So that's pretty much the, all the new videos that I saw this week. If some of you, have found a new video or something, make sure you put it in the description or in the comments below after this video goes from live to actually be able to watch it. So if something I miss, make note of it in there. So cheers. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up, the weekend update of all that I've seen happen throughout the week. And now I'm going to move on to my opinion piece. So for those of you that don't care to hear the opinion, you can shut it off now and have a good rest of your evening. Now, my opinion piece this week is really gonna wrap around, this week we had a new scrapbook 188 come out on Dal Neitzel's site. And this scrapbook, kind of went into, another story from Forrest Fenn of him in the past, being at a golf tournament in Texas. And then, somebody shouting up, "Hey kid, can you get me some beer?" And it happened to be this, ball player that I'd never heard of before, named Dizzy Dean. And he was commentating this golf tournament. And then Forrest Fenn went and got him some beer and sat up there with him. And he went all about this whole story. Well, at the end of the story, Forrest Fenn, has said he's been often criticized about, his writing style, that he says too much. He mixes verbs, tenses, he puts commas in the wrong place, and he misspells. And at the end of that, he says that, he went back up and read that whole story, and then he went back and removed all the commas out of it. Now this, completely blew up into this whole debate about, whether punctuation and grammar or whatever is even important in the poem. And I mean, me, I'm a poem purist. So of course, grammar is very key to me. And, I look at it this way, if the man says that he spent, 15 years trying to perfect this poem, or 15 or even more years, if it was 88 when he got cancer and hatched the idea, and he, hit it in 2010 or 2009, somewhere in there. I mean, that's 22, 21 years. So how long really did he work on this poem? But if he said he worked on it to get it exactly right and to not mess with his poem, in my opinion, every word is purposeful. There's a reason that punctuation is there. There's all that. If the man has said, when I wrote that poem, there was no subterfuge. The poem is straightforward. I wasn't trying to trick anybody. I wasn't trying to play any games, So everything there is purposeful, in my opinion. That includes that crazy semicolon, that includes the commas, the question mark, and all the periods. I mean, even if you took all the question marks out, there's still commas, there's still periods in there. You know, there's still sentences. It still has somewhat of a structure. So to me, everything is there is purposeful. But I know it completely caused this whole heated debate on Dal Neitzel's site and on the forums and everything else about, you know, people saying, see, all the time I told you it wasn't about grammar, it wasn't about punctuation. And who's to say that they are wrong? You know, I can't say they're wrong. I don't have the treasure. I can't say that my, you know, grammar is the key to solving it. Do I believe it is? Sure. You know, that's the path that I choose as a poem purist. But man, it just causes this whole debate. And again, I just think if it wasn't, if he didn't want the punctuation there or anything, he wouldn't have put it there. Everything's there on purpose. The man's not trying to trick us. I mean, it's not like he got to the end of this thing, wrote this whole poem and went, oh, I'm going to mess with everybody. I'm going to put commas in this crazy semicolon here and completely confuse everybody. At least I don't think he did. Maybe he did, but I don't think he did. I don't think he purposely meant to throw everybody off like that. I think putting in a poetic format was the best way he probably could have thrown everybody off, because to me, it masks what I believe is the key to solving it, which is grammar. And then another thing I noticed too is that, you know, we've got people out there trying to research and debunk whether he could have even been there or met Dizzy Dean. You know, I mean, it reminds me of, if you go back and you watch the Once Upon a While book signing video back in November 2nd of last year. And about the 28-minute mark, a person asked him, you know, hey, Forrest, what's your favorite story out of all your books? And then he goes into talking about an important literature chapter in The Thrill of the Chase. And he says, you know, I've had all kinds of people, you know, question whether or not it was raining the day I went to get J.D. Salinger's book. You know, I've got people looking up the Farmer's Almanac trying to prove whether or not it was raining that day. And he's like shaking his head like, you know, I don't understand that. And again, now we've got people sitting there trying to debunk whether or not he met Dizzy Dean. And you know, again, guys, this is just a story. And Forrest Fenn is trying to, you know, whether we believe or not, he's hiding some kind of hint in there, or he's trying to relay a message to somebody, or he's just simply telling a story that's true, you know, from his past, you know, and then proving a point or possibly proving a point, which is either punctuation is or is not important. You know, you read it however you want. But I find it funny that people are just out there, you know, purposely trying to debunk a story. And it's just a story. Who cares whether it's true or not? There's a message he's trying to get across to you. And what that is, we can conjecture about till Bessie comes home. But anyway, you know, again, I think that the scrapbook was a good scrapbook. I like the story. I personally think punctuation is important. So I read that as him reiterating that, but others see it differently, and that's fine too. But I think that's about it, guys. I'm going to look over here at the chat room, see if there's any questions, if you guys have had anything. If it's like any other chat, you guys are just talking amongst each other. So I'm going to go back to the beginning here and look at it. Say hi to a few people that came in. H. Purd, hello. Anon, hola. Adrian George, I know you're kind of a new searcher. I think you had said last time. How's your search efforts going? No. Everybody kind of talking amongst themselves. Dale Richards, how are you, Dale? Where are we at time-wise? Told my wife about 30 minutes. So I really like doing the live show. Again, all the prep that I have to do in order to get, you know, to do a non-live show is just it's crazy. And then the post editing, it's much easier just to do the live show. Fenn Treasure Hunter says, at Sean, DeCall never said I have seen a whole community come together for a treasure hunt like this one. Sean, DeCall, never have I ever seen a whole community. This is really the first treasure hunt I've ever been in, so I don't know. But yeah, it's a lot of community. It's a big community. You know, I think I agree, like Rodney says, I don't think it's like 350,000, you know, actual people out there searching. I think that number is probably, you know, really committed active searchers, probably in the 5,000 or 10,000 range, and those that will search more than once a year probably in that twice or more range a year is probably in the low, probably 1,000 or less. Honestly, I really think, and those that'll do multiple searches and are pretty, like you would call fanatics, like us that are watching this show or whatever, those are probably in the hundreds, maybe a couple hundred that I think are really, really active, involved fanatics that'll go out anytime they can. I think those numbers are really low. I could be completely wrong. It's just how I think. Chris Beatles, or Bettles, I think that is. He said, "Why must I go?" Got been out of shape about it. Yeah, again, I just, I used to get upset and would defend, my theories or something, to the death, so to speak. But now it's just that it's just a wasted effort. It's a futile effort to try and, stand there and back yourself in a corner and defend something just because, we don't know. None of us really know. We don't have any clue completely solved. I mean, even if you think you have warm water salt solved, what proof do you have until you really have the treasure? So really just, while debate is interesting and putting out your information out there and what you think confirms that is good, when talking about those things, but to sit there and say, somebody else is wrong and I'm completely right, and I've said it before, dealing in absolutes in this treasure hunt is just it's stupid in my opinion. It's just not worth it, because there is none. I've gotten on Man Alone a little bit about, saying that, him saying grammar has absolutely nothing to do about it. You can throw grammar out the window, or, no skill is involved. That's an absolute. You can't say that. I can't say that odds are not about it, or that grammar is, with 100% certainty. I can't say that, I won't deal in absolutes. You can't do that in this thing. I just won't. Sorry, I'm rambling on there. So, Chris, I hope I kind of answered that question. I like Why Must I Go? Him and I have had some issues in the past. We've gotten past that. I think, trying to, build a castle around your idea is just, it's not going to work. Still going through here. I got lag going on. Sorry about that, guys, if I do. No lag there. Somebody else. That maybe your internet there. David, tell your son to get off the internet. At Sean, let's go. Minotaur Marino, Sean, New Mexico. San Antonio Hot Springs in New Mexico. There is a San Antonio Hot Springs. I think Cynthia's talked a lot about it. I have been up there. If we are talking about the one up in the Jemez Mountains, I have been up in that area. I've searched around Battleship Rock. These were some of my first, search areas that I looked at, kind of I like to call the low-hanging fruit, a lot of stuff that other searchers had talked about and seemed to fit. I've kind of moved on from that. It's still a beautiful area. We still go camping and hiking up in the Jemez Mountains a lot, but that area is definitely beautiful. I don't know if you've been up there, Minotaur, but it's definitely a beautiful area. Minotaur Marino again, what are your thoughts on Fenn leaving his book signing yesterday to go talk to the page 99 dude in the red shirt? Again, I haven't watched all the live stuff yet. Again, I had a lot of family and friend stuff going on this weekend, so I was really involved in that. But I do know that it did happen, and I was kind of trying to watch it, on the side a little bit, but didn't get to watch it all. I'll go back and look at it and maybe get back to you on that one. Looks like I'm caught up on here. But guys, yeah, I'm trying to keep this to 30 minutes. Again, it was a pretty busy week. I think the scrapbook 188 was really kind of the big highlight of the week. Obviously it's gotten everybody talking. It's good to hear from Forrest again, and putting some good stuff out there. It is a big debate. I know a lot of people are not big on punctuation and grammar, and a lot of people will downplay somebody like myself who claims to be a poem purist. I don't know why. A lot of people think that we see ourselves as some kind of elitist or anything like that. I don't believe so. I believe a poem purist just takes the poem as the foundation of their poem and has the belief and faith that, all the information that they need to find the treasure is in there. It doesn't mean that there aren't subtle hints in the book or could be subtle hints in the scrapbooks. I mean, the man has told us there are other subtle clues, sprinkled in the story. So they are there, absolutely. But again, I just believe it is in my opinion, almost nearly impossible to isolate what you believe those subtle hints in the book are without allowing your preconceived biases to tell you that is in fact a subtle hint. Doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that it can be could be affected by your biases or your subjectivity. And the best way for me to mitigate confirmation bias and to remain as objective as possible is just to stick with the evidence that he has given us, which is the 9 clues. And they're right there in 166 words. So again, great week. And I'm glad to see that everybody came in tonight. It's good to talk with you guys. And I hope that you guys have a great week. We will catch you this Wednesday at the after party show. And we will catch you all on the flip side. Good night, folks.